What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Let's Talk Tottenham. Today we're going to be looking at two main news stories, one about Spurs and the other more about the Premier League in general. But if you're new here, would you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button like Sergio Reguilon hit that ball through Marcus Rashford's legs at that historic win against Manchester United. We're trying to get to 250 subscribers. We're almost there, and of course we want to keep growing and growing, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So first things first, we need to wish a very happy birthday to Ledley King. He is the king and the legend of the lane. And of course, it's so fun to see him pitch side again. You know, he's working with Jose Mourinho as an assistant coach, and seeing him in some of the training videos, I think even one today with Carlos Vinicius, just seeing him kind of on the ball. It was just really fun, and I hope to see more of him. I know there was a couple weeks there where he wasn't on the sidelines and just kind of got a little worried about him, but glad to see him back with the team, with the squad. And yeah, he will be, I think he'll be so helpful, especially to guys like Eric Dyer, Japhet Tanganga, Alderweireld, Sanchez, right? Just getting some pointers and tips from one of the greats. So happy birthday to him. And now we'll get into the real news that I was hoping to talk about. So the first bit of news is Tottenham Hotspur Stadium handed approval for another increase in capacity. This article is by football.london, and this has been something that we've been seeing more and more, but it sounds like this is the last time that Spurs will be increasing their stadium capacity without having to make changes to the building. But usually this is like no news, but oh man, you got to read these articles, because if we read right here, it says, while there were no objections from the Transport and Highways Authority or the council itself, one local resident did raise an objection. Council documents stated that the resident objects to yet another increase in capacity. This amounts to an increase by stealth, which is just such a funny way of saying it, of 1,389 on its original 2016 permission. Now here's the big one. The disruption to local residents caused by this enormous multi-use stadium is immense. It would bring the capacity to 2,146, greater than the Emirates, and is wholly unjustified. So it sounds like that one person who's upset is a Gooner. And buddy, I am so sorry that our stadium is better and so is our team. So anyway, however, the application was granted, with Spurs advised that any further proposed increase in the seating capacity of the stadium is unlikely to be considered non-material, meaning they'd have to make changes to the building. This means that when fans can return to football, even more will be able to fit in to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think this is prudent by Daniel Levy. Of course, you know, even when fans are able to come back, I'm sure it'll be at only a percentage of the capacity, right? And so even if it was, say, 25%, adding more seats like this will allow for more fans, even though it's a reduced capacity. And of course, you need to do it in a safe way. You want to make sure that anyone who comes to the games is, not putting their safety at risk. But hopefully we can hear the songs being sung again, that he's one of our own, and come on you Spurs, and Bale, Bale, right? So, yeah, I can't wait to see and hear people singing those songs again. But the big article that I wanted to talk about is more about the Premier League in general. And so the Telegraph had a world exclusive that Man United and Liverpool are driving the Project Big Picture, football's biggest shakeup in a generation. Now, there's a lot of things that are talked about. There's apparently like a 9-page proposal. Before we get into that, I just want to notice a couple things. First of all, Manchester United and Liverpool are the driving force behind the biggest changes to English football in a generation, and an extraordinary overhaul of the Premier League, the Telegraph can reveal. And, you know, of course, you just wonder, I thought Manchester United and Liverpool were rivals. But yeah, they're working together on this one. It's called Project Big Picture, and it focuses on reshaping the finances of the game. So before we get into the changes again, I just want to talk about who is involved here. The plan is supported by the EFL chairman, Rick Perry, who has held talks with Liverpool's principal owner, the American investor John W. Henry, and shareholder and director Mike Gordon. In addition, Perry has spoken to the Glazer family, who own United. So there's a section in here that talks about the key players. And the Glazer family, if you don't know, They took over in 2000. They took their first shares of Manchester United in 2003 before assuming full ownership 2 years later. And they are also owners of a controlling stake in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're among 5 U.S. owners in the Premier League. Another U.S. owner comes from Fenway Sports. And of course, Fenway owns the Boston Red Sox and Fenway Park and has bought Liverpool from George Gillette. And then we have here Rick Perry, who's the chair of English football. But I think it's interesting to note that he was Liverpool's chief executive back in 1998. And he only took over the English Football League chair last year. And then lastly is Richard Masters. So I just bring this up because I think it's important to consider. American sports we've got the NFL, the NBA, you've got the MLS, Major League Baseball, and all of these sports are pretty much closed systems. You might add some expansion teams, but in reality, it's kind of, it's just those teams. And when it gets to the end of the season, they have drafts and stuff like that for players, and the worst teams have the best opportunity to get a draft. And it's really a redistribution of talent to hopefully see all of the teams progress. And in some ways, you can see the benefits of that, but some of the terrible things about that are that teams will just tank their seasons and nobody goes to the games. It's just kind of like, if you're local, it's really hard to watch. And so when I see American sports kind of, sneaking in to make some decisions about these things, you really hope that it's for the good of the game and not just good for a few clubs. And unfortunately, it looks like it would be only for it would be a power grab for about 6 clubs, and Tottenham would be one of those clubs. But I'm not sure. We'll take a look at this. I'm just not sure if this is a good thing for the game. So here's what the proposals are. $250 million immediately to the EFL to compensate its clubs for match day revenue that's been lost. There would be special status for the 9 longest serving clubs. And this is the big one. And the vote of only 6 of those long-term shareholders, so 6 of the 9, would be required to make major changes, including amending rules and regulations, agreeing contracts, removal of the chief executive, and a wide-ranging veto, including on club ownership. Now, trying to be fair, I can understand why, maybe these long-standing clubs would want more of a say into, say, the rules and things like that, because they're in the league every year. And so if you've got, teams that are coming up and going down, and they came up and they made a vote that, some of those 9 clubs wouldn't be interested in, I could see why you'd be maybe frustrated by that. But at the same time, I feel like, and we would be one of those clubs. So I don't know, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just feel like it's a strong power grab, and the money looks like a bribe. It doesn't look good. And so I don't know. You let me know in the comments down below. Do you think this would be a good idea? Maybe it'd be good for Spurs, but would it be good for the game? I don't know. One of the things I've loved about Spurs is that we're coming up through doing good things. We're being fiscally responsible. And, of course, when you see teams like Chelsea and Man City who have just had such an influx of cash, you could see why a veto on club ownership could be coming into play. But it seems like a really protective measure, for someone like Liverpool or Manchester United to be able to say, you know what, we don't want anybody challenging us in terms of finances. And I don't know. It doesn't seem good to me. It would say that the Premier League would go to 18 clubs from 20, and I can understand that as well. There's so many games now, and you're looking at many of the Premier League teams having international players, and they're on international duty, and so there's game after game after game. And so this would remove 2 clubs, and that would be home and away games. So you could see that being good, when you think about like Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. These guys are playing so many games after game. So that would be helpful, I think. $100 million one-off gift to the FA to cover its coronavirus losses, the non-league game, the women's game, the grassroots. Another one that there's a lot of different things here you can look at. You can look at what you think is important and let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything major. But there was another one here. Here, two sides are automatically relegated from the Premier League every season, and the top two championship teams are automatically promoted, with the 16th place team of the Premier League playing off against the championship 3rd and 4th and 5th place teams. So, that would be interesting, because then you'd have like a Premier League team being in a playoff to keep their spot. But again, that seems to be protective, that the Premier League team has another chance, even after they've hit one of those last 3 spots, they have another chance to stay. And maybe it's too punishing to get relegated. They might feel like, and so this might be a way to say like, hey, you get one last shot. I don't know. Again, you let me know in the comments down below what you think. But personally, this seems like a huge shakeup. To be honest, I would just like the handball changed. We could just start there. And I think we could all agree on that one. But they'd also abolish the League Cup and the Community Shield. I'm not really sure what that's about. Again, if I'm, being critical and maybe, wondering what are the sinister, plots behind the scenes, it's like there's 2 more trophies that aren't available to clubs and, can't be fought for. And when you think about Manchester United and Liverpool, these are the ones who tout their history so much. It would be much harder to catch up on that history. So anyway, yeah, what are your thoughts about this? I don't think it's great. And the other part of this too that was interesting, the talks began in 2017, but have been accelerated since coronavirus pandemic has thrust football into the grip of crisis with no fans in stadiums. Again, Liverpool and Manchester United are going to be the ones that are hit the hardest because they have huge stadiums and they're not filling them. We are one of those. We just built it as well. We just built this huge stadium and we're not filling the stands. So there seems like a lot of interest from Liverpool and Man United to do something like this. And I'm just not sure if it's worth participating in. And it makes me wonder too, if it's been kept under wraps since 2016, how did it get out? Like, was it leaked? Do they want to get these conversations going sooner? Is this some way deflecting from another conversation? I don't know. It's really an interesting thing, and I would love to hear your comments. Is this good for the game? Is this good for Spurs? Maybe it is. I'm not really sure. I'm not convinced. So I don't know if you saw this, but Gareth Bale, there's some images and video of him just putting the ball in the back of the net in training. I am so excited to see this guy playing in lily white again. This guy was born to play for Spurs, and I was just cracking up and found myself dancing as well at the thought that it's going to be Son, Kane, and Bale. You ready? And as long as I got my suit and tie, I'ma leave it all on the floor tonight. Can you imagine? You've got Sonny and Kane. These two have been just connecting for so many goals. And then you've got Bale coming in. Bale. Gareth Bale. Oh man, it's going to be so fun to see him scoring goals again in a lily white shirt, and fitting that he would be, his first game would be against West Ham. I really hope to see him in the starting 11, and if not, definitely on the bench, because it'll be just such a great way to, we've had such a good start to the season. Obviously, the first game was a bummer, and having that draw, but by the end, just before the international break, I feel like we really were starting to hit a stride. Add Gareth Bale, add Carlos Vinicius. Man, this is gonna be a great season, and I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, as always, I'm ready to have my heart broken. It's somewhere in there. I'm worried about it, but man, it all looks good right now. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit that like button, get in those comments. Let me know what you think about these proposed changes to the Premier League. And as ever, it was great talking with you.